So many people today are struggling because they do not understand how to play the game called life. We believe what we see in front of us is evidence of our reality, and believing that that material reality that we see in front of us is unmovable or evidence of our restriction. We resign to, oh, it is what it is. And this is part of what keeps us stuck. If you didn't watch last week's video, I talked all about becoming a light warrior and not just getting stuck in the light worker phase, but rather stepping into the calling of being a light warrior. And that means we have to go from playing by 3D rules to stepping into the 5D rules. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today. This is one of, if not the most powerful tools in my toolbox that helped me go from being stagnant in the light worker phase and stepping into a life that is worth living. It isn't something that I was doing from the beginning, but as I have transformed my life has grown with abundance, prosperity, purpose, and clarity. I have gained emotional mastery and strengthened my spiritual connection because of this understanding. Starting to live by the 5D rules has become the most impactful shift in my approach to life. Most of us are aware of the 12 universal laws. Some of the common ones are law of attraction, law of assumption, or the law of inspired action. Others of us are aware of quantum physics and the double slit theory that tells us that a photon can behave like both a wave and or a particle based on whether or not is observed. Others of you may have heard of the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, where essentially there is a cat in a box, and what you perceive will be based on what you expect. So if you expect to see a dead cat in the box, you open the box, that is what you will perceive. If you expect to see a fed cat and you open the box, that is what you will perceive. Less frequently known is the quantum Zeno effect, which tells us that observation holds a quantum system in a particular state. This might explain why watching paint dry is so painful. Many of us are aware of psychology and the cognitive behavioral therapy that tells us that beliefs lead to our thoughts lead to our feelings lead to our actions to our results, and therefore we complete the loop of confirmation bias, which means we have reaffirmed the belief that moves us back into the loop of thoughts, feelings, actions, results, and therefore more belief. And many well-known authors and leaders like Gandhi or Napoleon Hill have told us what you think, you become. And yet, many of us are still struggling to figure out how to play the game called life, how to create a life worth living. Many are struggling financially, especially in this day and age. I've even heard of mothers who are fasting so that their kids could have dinner, or door dashing to make rent, or losing sleep over how they will cover the next mortgage payment. Many are dealing with chronic health issues like autoimmune, which is essentially attacking ourselves from the inside out, not to mention chronic pain, heart conditions, and crippling aches and pains. And as if that wasn't hard enough, relationships are more strained than ever. Nearly half of marriages still end in divorce, and it's right down to neighbors attacking neighbors. Politics continues to widen the chasm of division. And if you're experiencing any of this, you are not alone. I've been there too. Not too long ago, struggling financially, dealing with a toxic relationship, and severely lacking the energy to get through the day. And while I had done a lot of trauma healing, closed stress responses, and reprogrammed subconscious beliefs, while I was able to consciously cultivate positive, resourceful, expansive beliefs, a pretty significant amount of the time, anytime I would go unconscious or subconscious, would fall back into old patterns, habitual states of the nervous system, and sometimes even a subconscious addiction to things like adrenaline or the hustle and grind or struggle. It was just familiar. My strategies were sometimes coming from a place of control or perfectionism because as a teenager, that's how I learned how to survive. And then I finally realized I was believing the evidence of what I could see as my reality. And that's when I realized the issue was that I was believing the evidence that I could see as my reality. And for any of you who are listening and not watching, I'm using my air quotes when I say reality. Conflicts in relationships relationship meant that I had to accept that toxic partner. A low bank account balance meant that I had to work harder or put in more hours, or that I wasn't doing something right. Maybe it even meant I wasn't good enough. The lack of energy meant that I was failing at healing and I did something wrong. I realized I was believing the lie of the material evidence that I had not done enough. But the truth was I had done the trauma healing. I had closed the stress responses in my body. I had regulated the nervous system and reprogrammed those subconscious beliefs. The issue was that I was believing the evidence of the past creations that looked like my material reality. Again, air quotes for those of you listening. And this meant that I had primarily expansive beliefs until my reality showed me contradicting evidence. I was at least operating in expansive beliefs about 75% of the time in those early stages of trauma healing. But as soon as the material world would show me evidence that it wasn't working, again, air quotes, I would crumble back into those old behaviors and subconscious patterns. You see, the material world is not more or less true than the spirit realm. Energy may even be more real than the material because everything starts in the energetic realm first. The materialization of our creations is an after effect. It is an echo of the past. It is evidence of where I energetically was days, weeks, months, and maybe even years ago, depending on how long I stayed stuck there. You see, our life experiences have created our posture towards life. It can make some of us meek or mild or passive or easygoing, otherwise known as the trauma responsive fawn. Sometimes comes along with people pleasing and overgiving, self-sacrifice, and not being willing to rock the boat. We just accept what is, foregoing our power and authority. But after we heal our trauma, we can adopt a new posture towards life. If you have not yet worked on healing your trauma, make sure to check out the free training link below. It's nearly a 4-hour free training to help you get started to understand how to heal your trauma and close your stress responses so that you can move from that old fawning posture into the new posture of being a light warrior. This is a place of empowerment, authority, and the identity of a child of the creator of the universe, understanding and knowing that you are royalty, the most favored creation as part of humanity. You are powerful beyond measure. And when you are backed by our Father, unified with the mind of Christ, and led by the whispers of the Holy Spirit, you get to put on the full armor of God. And let's remember, this is not a struggle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, the authorities, and the powers of the dark world. This is a spiritual war, and unfortunately, trauma opens us up to dark forces. It allows the darkness to take root through our limiting beliefs, and especially the ones that affect our identity. But the good news is, we've been given the armor of God, and in that armor, there is one weapon, and that is the promises that the divine has gifted us. The war is fought by wielding the sword of our promises. That means that no weapon formed against us shall prosper, and your ability to combat the lies of the lower forms, our ability to fight back requires the awareness of the promises that we have been made. No weapon formed against you shall prosper also is followed by the statement that it will be used for your good. Our defense is faith and not works. Consider the lilies of the field and how they grow. They don't toil or spin, and yet they are beautifully adorned. We are reminded that even the swallows are cared for and that we are even more valuable than they. We are also promised that the divine has a plan for our life, and his plans to prosper us and not to harm us, to give us a future and hope. We are promised that God will supply all of our needs according to his riches and glory. And we know that life is always working in our favor. All things are working together for our good, especially for those who step into their God-given calling and purpose. This is how we play by the 3D rules. Ignoring what we see in the material world, refusing to believe that that is evidence of reality, and resting in the promises that we have been made. This is how we play by the 5D rules. It is all an energetic posture, and it is a refusal to believe that what we see outside of us is solid material that cannot be moved. It is the knowing of your identity as royalty and your power and authority to push back against the darkness as a light warrior. Remember, nothing is as it seems. You do not see what you think you see. And what you do see is evidence of the past, not of your future. You will experience and create what you believe. And if you can believe, your good is assured. It is promised, and it is already done. Your ability to receive this good is directly linked to your ability to believe. Not how worthy you think you are, not how hard you work, but when you can learn to relax into the promises and rest in trust and surrender, fully surrendering to the process of how life is unfolding for you, you get to sink into that place of unshakable confidence. No more fight or flight. You can finally receive from a place of confidence and absolute certainty that it is already done for you. Allowing yourself to co-create with life, allowing life to bring solutions to you. Unfortunately, no one taught us how to do this in school. And what they did teach us was actually the opposite of the truth. And now it seems counterintuitive. So this means that we need to go through the process of deconditioning, and that will take time. And that's okay. But if you go into the trauma spotting course or coaching with me, I can guarantee you we are going to catapult you into a new timeline, shortening that process of deconditioning. It'll allow you to heal your trauma, close the stress responses in your body, and regulate your nervous system so that you regain your resilience, your trust in yourself, your ability to create an intimate relationship with the divine, to step into your purpose, to claim your abundance birthright, and finally move into the posture of a light warrior, claiming your authority and wielding your power to create what is good, what is right, what is just. And that is why we're told to focus on what is good and pure and lovely. This is how we do our part in the co-creative process. And that's why I wanted to share this with you today, because learning to play the game by the 5D rules can save you so much pain and suffering, not to mention speed up the timeline, allowing you to align to your divine purpose. Divine timing is alignment within you. No longer do we have to live by the 3D rules. You get to exit the matrix today by choosing to believe. And I know the mind is going to tell you otherwise. It just needs a little evidence to believe. So start small. Start calling in things like a feather or a penny and watch. The divine will show up for you. And when it does seem like something shows up that is the opposite of what you've been calling in, that's okay. Relax into it. Remember, it does not mean what you historically thought it did. And the solution is your faith that your good is still coming. Allow the solution to emerge. Don't freak out and don't fall back into those old habitual thoughts of limits and disbelief. Get into the body and work with the fear that is coming up. Be sure that you have closed those stress responses around that problem and reach out for help if it continues to be a problem. Be sure that you don't start repeating those old limiting beliefs and behaviors again. If you find yourself saying it'll never work out for me, or it never happens for me, or any other negative affirmation, and you can't make it stop, it's time for some trauma spotting. So you can finally reprogram your subconscious and step into a new life. Rest assured, it is safe to trust the guidance of the desires of your heart so that you can step into your purpose, claim your abundance birthright, and help create heaven on earth. We need you. And if you need further assistance in stepping into your power and becoming a light worker, check out this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share with anyone that can benefit from this. Leave a comment or a review to help spread the message. And be sure to check out that free training. The link is in the description so that you can manifest abundance through your life purpose today. I love you, my friends. Namaste.